Well, hey everybody, John Rethlin here, and this is hashtag Ask for Honesty, episode 8. Yes, going up a day early, mainly for this reason, because I've had to skip over some details of a whole lot of questions that I really wanted to be detailed on in the last couple episodes. I'm still trying to figure out the best format, and I think I figured out a good one. 2 episodes a week, as long as my work schedule will allow it. Wednesday evenings, Saturday mornings. They will be recorded Wednesday afternoon and Friday evening, respectively. So again, as long as my work schedule allows, I will be doing 2 episodes a week. So I'll put up pinned tweets Tuesday afternoon and Thursday evening, respectively, and that gives you plenty of time to ask me wrestling, movie, or music-related questions. So, yes, there we go, because I didn't get as detailed on some of these questions, and I do apologize for that. Fellow wrestling fan to all our fellow wrestling fans and fellow YouTube content creators, thank you guys so much for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. I just do this show for fun, not for profit. So, that's really what the whole deal is. So, if you want to send a question, please leave a comment below this video. I will include it in the next episode, or hit me up in DM on Twitter, or check either of the pinned tweets I'm going to put up Tuesday afternoon or Thursday evening. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into some questions that I got last week from Valena WWE that were all AEW related, and I don't blame her for asking about AEW because Double or Nothing in particular was quite a big fucking deal, and while it wasn't a perfect show, there were some kinks they could work out. It was a big goddamn deal to see that kind of level of production and what could actually be a good alternative to WWE, even though New Japan and other companies are and everything, and I could get into that on another day. It's a big fucking deal for an American promotion to have this level of funding and this level of production value and everything. So, her questions that she asked, it was basically about, Double or Nothing being in the books, what are some things that I would do differently to perfect their pay-per-views? She said, example, better quality audio during backstage interviews would be my choice. Now, that's a great point. See, there are kinks to work out. All In was something that was a big deal, and I know that was the precursor to AEW, that it wasn't actually an AEW-funded show, because AEW wasn't around at the time. That's where the bug came in, where the bug bit them and everything. They thought, hey, we could actually do this shit. I think something that they could do is they could come up with a better way to dress up the background and everything. Come up with a way where it's like, obviously they're not scripting their people enough, or they're not scripting their people at all, which is a good thing. And they can help them out, with promos and stuff like that, since some of them were in WWE for a while and now they just feel free and everything. I mean, look at Moxley's, most recent promos and everything, how he felt free. He's breathing free air. He's breathing fresh air and everything. And he's so goddamn happy. Even though he's grateful for his time in WWE, he got upset by the machine. As did many. I mean, let's be perfectly honest about that. They could also they could work on the camera work, because and I think you would agree with me on this, some of the camera work was a little shaky. Now, some of the shots were great. Tony Khan apparently was very, very influential in what they were doing. They did some great, he was obviously calling quite a few of the shots because he's a wrestling fan. And that's fucking great, because it's nice to have an owner that's a wrestling fan that understands, hey, when to step forward and give his opinion and when to step back and let the boys and the girls handle. Well, I'll just say the boys, because the women factor into that. Oh, let the wrestlers, let the talents do the thing. As for backstage interviews, yeah, they just really need better audio quality. There are very few tweaks they need to make, really, besides getting rid, maybe going down to a 2-person commentary team. And that's another question you dived into there, or you posted earlier, and I will get into that here in just a bit. But that's stuff I would do. I would just, like you said, the backstage audio and everything, come up with a little bit better camera work, not so much shaky stuff. They had some shaky camera work and everything. Maybe it's just because people were excited or it was their first big show. There are kinks they can work out, and there are understandable kinks. This went off better than All In, because All In did have some audio issues and stuff, but was still a big goddamn deal. This did improve on a whole lot of stuff. But really, what they just need to do is focus on more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. And for the most part, even though some of the matches went a little long, I mean, which I sort of understand given the $50 or $60 price tag, depending on where you were, in the States at least, that was it was something that they made a big deal, and for the most part, they hit a home run. I would actually consider that show a pretty raging success. So as long as they focus on just tweaking a few things, everything, camera work, audio quality, and stuff like that, they could work. And they also, with the pyro, this is one aspect that maybe you didn't touch on. That I'm going to touch on the pyro. Go big or go home. Now, I'm not saying give everybody like a Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan-like entrance from the Finger Poke of Doom Nitro episode. And if you saw that one, you know what I'm talking about. The pyro and everything was bigger than the goddamn match itself. Go big or go home. Don't have such weak pyro. Have pyro, enjoy it. Give people pyro, but don't give everybody pyro. And I know that sounds bad. It's not that I'm trying to discredit anybody, but give the pyro to the people you really want to push and everything. And don't make anybody feel insignificant, but with the pyro, go big or go home. Work on that stuff. Work on the kinked, and it's going to work out just fine. And another one, she says that a lot of people were calling Cody petty for the whole smashing of Triple H's throne thing. And she asked if I agree or disagree. I agree that it was petty, but it's not nearly the most petty thing in the goddamn world. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Honestly, I think that WWE is going to take worse shots at them. But those, and if you thought it was petty, if others thought it was petty, I'm not going to fault you guys. But there are also people that were saying, oh, it's the worst thing in the world. Or, oh, AEW says they don't care about WWE, or WWE says they don't care about AEW, and they're taking shots at each other, and it's stupid because super fans are getting in a pissing contest instead of wanting both companies to succeed, which is what I fucking want. But who the fuck, what the fuck am I? What the fuck do I know? I'm just a wrestling fan. I mean, apparently everybody else is just a wrestling fan, but their opinions matter more. My opinion doesn't matter more than anybody else's, by the way. I'm just stating mine. It was petty, but it was a funny kind of petty. Now, was it a little forced? Yes, it was a little bit forced. Do I blame Cody for being angry? No. The Stardust gimmick could have fucking killed his career. He took a chance on himself by leaving because he knew he could be more valuable and everything. So yes, him doing that, taking a shot, I understand. There could be heat between him and Triple H that we don't fucking know about. Honestly, I have no fucking clue what kind of heat there could be. Cody could be upset because he felt that Triple H is taking the credit for NXT that, his father laid the groundwork for. Because let's be honest, Dusty's influence is still felt even 4 years after his death. Maybe that's part of it. I mean, I'm not really sure about the aspect. I'm not a mind reader on Cody. It's just me speculating. It's just a fan on the outside. Was it petty? Yes, it was petty. But did I have a problem with it? No. The Monday Night Wars had way worse things that people that the companies did and all this stuff and everything. So guess what? It's not the worst goddamn thing in the world. If you think this is petty, you wouldn't have survived the Monday Night Wars. I'm not saying you specifically. I'm saying the people that are like slandering Cody and everything and saying it's the worst thing in the world. But the second part of the question, do you feel Cody is getting too wrapped up in wanting to outdo WWE, that he's losing focus of promoting AEW as an alternative to, promotion for wrestling fans? On a big stage like this, I didn't have a problem with the shot. If he continues to do it, absolutely, it is going to come across as him having more of a vanity project and everything, and less about giving more wrestlers opportunities and being diverse and everything. So if it does turn into something where he's going to do that, and he's going to do nothing but take shots at them and take shots at them, and other wrestlers in the promotion are going to take shots, and that's all it's going to be, yes, it's going to come across as very basic, very second rate and everything, instead of being an alternative. AEW is not going to beat WWE. And I know that wasn't part of your question, but WWE is going to beat WWE. Vince is already pretty much killing WWE as it is. Let's be perfectly honest. Besides financially, creatively, it's at a pretty big low. But yes, if Cody loses sight of making it an alternative and continues to take shots at WWE, occasional shots are fine. Taking another shot at All Out, that is totally fine, which is taking place just a day before All In took place, which was quite a fun show, and hopefully myself and the Derb will be able to review All Out. But it will turn into something ridiculous if Cody continues to do it. Occasional stuff like doing it All Out, doing it on the first episode when they're on TNT, that's fine. The occasional shots, because WWE is going to take them also. But with WWE taking them, and I go back to a Vince Russo quote: if you're number one, you don't even acknowledge number two. And that's pretty much the case. Like, both companies are going to get to where they will take more shots at each other and everything. Will it get petty? Yes, it will. Hopefully Cody doesn't lose sight of making AEW the alternative it needs to be. Not direct competition, because A, it's on a different night, and B, one show compared to about 60 years worth of stuff that, technically, like 50-something years worth, because it started in like 63 or something like it. But still, the whole point is the company has been around for a number of years. AEW's just starting, even though it's got a bunch of people that have been in the business for years. Slow the roll. take the shots when necessary, but just focus on making it an alternative. And then this one is something I really should have dived into a little bit more, but Cody throwing shade at Bayley in order to put over, basically, in her words, a generic babyface and Kylie Ray. And I'm not knocking you. That's just how you word it. It felt incredibly unnecessary. You don't have to put down one woman in order to lift another woman up. And I agree. Now, Cody taking shots at how Bayley has been booked, that is totally fine. Not evolving her character, sure. Bayley is going to need to turn fucking heel. Now, I mean, again, I'm not a mind reader on Cody, so I don't know exactly what the words were. The way it was interpreted, it did sound like more shots at Bayley than was necessary, who, in my understanding, is one of the nicest people in the company and is somebody that really could be, you know, the focal point and is currently the SmackDown Women's Champion, but could have been the focal point a couple years ago. Taking shots at how creative has booked her, that is certainly not a bad thing, and I totally understand why somebody would be upset at that and why Cody might mention it. Kylie Ray is a name I have heard. I am not as familiar with. Hopefully she can be somebody that can evolve beyond just being smiling Kylie Ray, because otherwise, even though AEW is a different fan base, are going to appeal to a 14 to 38 demographic, you know, the male demographic, but also the female demographic, because they have some really good female wrestlers. You know, women's wrestlers, and it's not just all about gender. They even have, they have Nyla Rose, trans woman, which is something that, by the way, if you have a problem with Nyla Rose being a trans woman in the company, or you got a problem with Sonny Kiss being in the company, fuck you. Fuck the people that gave birth to you. Seriously, you guys are fucking idiots. You guys are fucking idiots. You don't belong in wrestling. I speak as somebody that used to be transphobic, homophobic, racist, and a whole lot of other shit back in my teenage years. You guys can't grow up and realize that it's a melting pot and everything of wrestling, and that if they're athletes, that's what you should focus on. If you're going to focus on the fact that, oh, it's a woman, or it's a guy that used to be, a woman that used to be a guy, or something like that. Oh, it's a guy that likes dick. Oh, God forbid. Is it affecting you? 100%, I'm willing to bet, and I know this is going off on a complete tangent, I'm willing to bet that a lot of them, 95% of them, support Trump. Because they're all pretty much garbage human beings, let's be honest. I know there are people that support Trump that are watching my channel, and if you think I'm talking about you, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Because a lot of the people I'm referring to are just tweets from people that I have seen that actually aren't following me, and I had never even fucking heard of until I saw screenshots of these tweets and this kind of stuff. So that's pretty fucking ridiculous. But back to what you said. Yes, unnecessary shots. You don't need to talk down about women in another company to lift your other women up. Lifting your division up is not a bad thing. Taking shots at creative and how they booked her, totally fine. Taking shots at the woman herself, nah, I didn't necessarily agree with that, and I thought that was pretty shit. But then she asked about the Casino Battle Royal and who are some people that impressed me in there. And she mentioned Luchasaurus and MJF. Really, a host of people did. Dustin Thomas impressed me. I thought he was very, very good. The guy with the double amputee. Sonny Kiss impressed me, even though I got to see more antics, in actual wrestling. Though I liked his antics, I thought it was pretty funny, and I think he can be a good comedy, wrestler when, he gets upset, when, that switch gets flipped, he gets angry and he can actually get focused and everything. I think that could actually work really well. He stood out to me. MJF is the one that stood out for me for the most. Now, yeah, you got Orange Cassidy doing the shin kicks and stuff like that, and that was pretty funny with Tommy Dreamer. And the fact that Glacier and Billy Gunn were still in a wrestling ring in 2019, but MJF was the absolute star. You and I talked about that. I totally agree that MJF's going to be a fucking star for years and years and years. Saw him at the Defy Northwest Wrestling Show. That guy is fucking money. He's absolute money. Great. And the fact that he could be a wrestler for 20 damn years. 15, 20 years or whatever, how long. I mean, I know he's only in his early 20s, but he could be a wrestler for 15 to 20 years. He could transition into being a manager and a commentator and get another 20 years out of it. He is that goddamn good as long as he keeps his head on straight, and he seems to have a great mind for the business, and by God is he great at getting heat. That stuff he did with Bret Hart was absolutely wonderful later. MJF is somebody that they can absolutely build around. He doesn't have to be the best in the ring, but people will pay to watch him get his ass kicked. And it will fucking work. Luchasaurus is another person I saw at the Defy Northwest Wrestling Show, and he is quite goddamn impressive. Great talent, damn good in the ring, and really tall and impressive. He did well there. I thought Jimmy Havoc did very well. I'm happy to see Luchasaurus got signed to All Elite Wrestling. He was, but yeah, Jimmy Havoc was great in there. But MJF to me was a total star of that. I thought Hangman Page, of course, he was the last participant. He did well. I thought Brian Pillman Jr. did very well. There was a host of really good talents. But the ones you mentioned are pretty much the ones that stood out for me. Because Luchasaurus was in the Final Four. MJF was in the Final Two. And for a guy that, as young as he is, he's gotten it right away, and it has so worked for him, and I can't wait to see his career grow. MJF definitely stood out the most. Same with Luchasaurus and a few others that I mentioned. And she mentions about AEW going on TV in a few months. If Tony Khan is going to put a lot of his young talents in acting classes so they can work the stick before they go on live TV. She brings up the example of Britt Baker kind of not being able to speak at all during the public interviews for the post show. It worries me worries her because they're making Britt their Charlotte. I think nerves is what it ultimately comes down to. Now, I'm certainly not saying that, people shouldn't be used to speaking in front of a camera. But unless you're in WWE or New Japan, you're not reaching much of a global audience. Yes, Impact has a bit of a global reach and stuff like that, but the vast majority of people, they can pre-tape stuff and stuff like that. With Britt and other ones and other young talents, and I think Kylie Ray is going to be one of them. Nyla Rose, I think, is going to be somebody. I think they're going to have to work on some of the women cutting promos and stuff like that, even though they all seem very personable in front of the camera. MJF is somebody maybe they could talk to and say, hey, I can't be like you, but how did you get so comfortable? Some have the gift of gab and some don't, though. That's the thing. Some are never going to be perfect, on the mic. Now, you do have to be able to speak for yourself and promote yourself on camera, but here's something I'm going to tie back into to a question I got like a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago. Bring back managers. Make people managers and everything. If you switch Britt Baker heel and stuff like that, maybe give her a manager if she's not as comfortable on the mic. I don't know who you'd bring in. Ivory. Bring in Ivory. Ivory is always a great talker. She would be somebody that could do really goddamn well. I think Tony Khan is smart enough to understand the strengths and weaknesses of his talents if his influence and, him being backstage in a gorilla position, which they really should call gorilla position, they really should call the Dusty position. I think somebody said that. The Dusty finish position. That actually sounds kind of gross. But they can work on that with a bunch of people. They can work on getting the most out of somebody. Acting classes may be the way to go, so you may be perfectly right. But some do not have the gift of gab on camera. Some just simply don't. Some are better wrestlers than they are talkers. So yes, hopefully Britt can improve. Hopefully a bunch of others can improve. And talking can be just as much of a focus, and so many can be well-rounded. Acting classes may be the way to go. Because I'm not sure what else you would do except, promo classes, talking to a few others. Billy Gunn was a pretty good promo. Talk to him. But I'd say MJF could be somebody because they would listen to him because he's young, but he's clearly gotten it. And maybe a few others. Cody could talk to them. He's been pretty good on the mic. Omega's gotten better on the mic. Jericho in particular is somebody that they should talk to. Jericho, I think, could be a very positive influence. And Moxley could be a great influence to them. And her other question, with the current position that AEW is in right now, do you think they have enough heavy hitters to compete with WWE, or do you think they need a few more bigger names? Now, see, I thought about this because they have enough heavy hitters to be an alternative. They're never going to compete directly with WWE. They will gain attention from WWE. Moxley is a big start. And he's a big deal. He's going to be working in New Japan here in about a week. And I'm certainly looking forward to that. There's a lot of buzz around AEW, and Moxley is going to be a big catalyst for them. I think Jericho can also help them. I think the group of young talent that they have, MJF, Luchasaurus, and other ones that I mentioned, and other ones that you mentioned, are going to be ones that work pretty well. So as long as Moxley, Jericho, Omega, because he's a pretty big name, the Bucks are a pretty big name, Cody, as long as they get to, and SCU also, SCU is a great trio, as long as they do enough with more household names and people that maybe aren't that from WWE that they aren't that familiar with, if they can draw more fans in with guys like Jericho and Moxley and everything, they may not need to sign too many heavy hitters for now. Now, in the future, I will actually be doing a video on 10 wrestlers that AEW must sign in 2019, and some of those choices may surprise you. I think what I think what they have right now is more than enough. If they were to add Punk show up at All Out because it's going to be taking place in Chicago, that'd be a big deal. But I don't think he'd be doing that many appearances. He'd be doing occasional appearances. If they can get a working relationship with New Japan, that would actually be a big deal, and that would actually be something where they could make something happen. So that, I don't think right now they have enough heavy hitters to compete with WWE, but to trouble them and make them an alternative, they got enough right now. They can add more pieces later. And she was asking if I think Vince is going to bury Peyton for expressing her support for AEW on Twitter. I mean, I think we can agree that Renee Young is probably going to be phased out of the company pretty quickly. I think her time's limited. Peyton did take the pin on Raw, so I don't really think that's too surprising. I don't want to make it sound... Vince is petty. I mean, he gave Natalya a farting gimmick because she turned down a writer for a date, despite the fact that her and Tyson Kidd have been dating for a good while. At least that's the rumor. Vince has been petty in the past, I mean, with a whole lot of shit. So what do you think? What do you think they're going to do? Hopefully not. Hopefully he understands that there are relationships outside of WWE and everything, you know, that just because wrestlers are not in the same company, they can't be in relationships. Remember, this is the same guy that booked Rusev and Summer Rae and Ziggler and Lana in a feud, and, you know, a love triangle, love square feud, and it didn't fucking work out at all. He's been petty in the past, and he probably will be petty in the future. He's pretty much lost control of his company and has become Verne Gagne and everything. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up burying Peyton. I don't know if they're going to lose the titles yet, but they've really been... her and Billy have been jobbed out a whole lot, not having any victories except over 2 jobbers for the titles. So I wouldn't be very surprised. And then she just asked, and I'm simply going to be quick on this one because I got more questions to get to, but... What are your thoughts on Bladey in 2019? She mentions how Dustin seemed to cut too deep. She was for it, but then saw him cut too deep. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't mind blood in some matches, but I don't think it was all that. It was necessary in this match, but they can't do it a lot. So I will say it, a little bit scary, and maybe they need to tamper it just a little bit. So now I'm going to get into other questions here, and I took a lot of time there, so don't worry. I mean, I'll get to your guys' questions, but some of these will be kind of quick. So, El Ringmaster, like this guy, great to talk to. I'm dying to know, peanut butter or jelly, the world needs to know. Peanut butter reminds me of when I went to my grandparents, actually, whether it was chunky or creamy peanut butter. So I get some fond memories whenever I eat a peanut butter sandwich. Jelly reminds me of when I was at one of my cousins because she would make PB&J for her kids, and also when myself and my sister went over there. But peanut butter always reminds me of my grandparents. So I have fond memories of that. I think I was probably a little more emotional than you were expecting, but seriously, it's always nice, you know, when that tends to be the case. So I did enjoy that. I always enjoy peanut butter. Gives me some fond memories, some tingly feelings. And BSG 1030, if not for the accident, would Magnum TA have been a megastar in WWF? No. He would have flamed up by 95. I don't think that Magnum TA... Now, maybe it's just me, because I saw some of him in Mid-South, and obviously some of his stuff in Jim Crockett Promotions, but I think he would have been just fine in WCW, probably would have worked till about 95. I think he would have gotten out of the business before injuries really took their toll. So had it not been for the accident, he would have stayed in WCW. It would have been home for him. He would have been a world champion, no doubt. WWF, they would have made him a mid-carder. I just can't imagine they would have used him all that well. We will never know, obviously, because his accident happened in 86, but nope, I think he would have stayed in WCW. I think he would have done well, but that's about it. I just don't, I think maybe Intercontinental Champion in WWE. He would have been swallowed up by Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and a whole bunch of others. There's just no way that he would have been used all that well. He would have been put in a tag team with Dusty Rhodes if he had gone there in 89. But the second question, after this Moxley interview, what do you think? Do you think WWE wrestlers will confront Vince on Creative's idea? Should AEW focus on tag team wrestling to be an alternative to WWE? One, you mean confront Vince on Vince's ideas because every idea has to go through Vince. That is the fucking deal. It's not Creative's idea. Creative could be coming up with the best ideas in the goddamn world, and Vince will just tweak them around and everything. Like, apparently Moxley was super pissed about, you know, the shots, getting the shots in the ass and everything, and the line he had to say about Reigns' leukemia. Which I don't blame him. Because Reigns, Rollins, and Ambrose apparently were apparently really good friends. And it's just really fucking sad that he had to say that. And I don't blame Moxley for being fucking frustrated about it. Will more wrestlers confront Vince? They will, and they'll probably get 6 months added to Luke Harper's contract. I'm kidding, that's a running joke. But they could confront him, but it would be like falling on deaf ears, because I don't think Vince wants to be challenged. I think that it's just going to breed more contempt and everything, even though people are going to say something, it'll be like talking to a brick wall. Because Vince is Vern Gagne from Vern Gagne, there we go. And then we go, or Vince McGagne, something like that. Anyway, so yeah, they can confront him. It's just going to be like talking to a brick wall. And then should AEW focus on tag team wrestling? Yeah, they should. Tag team wrestling can fucking matter in AEW. It doesn't matter in WWE, even though it should. Even in NXT, it doesn't matter as much as it used to, which is sad. Because the tag team division in NXT was pretty much fucking stacked for a goddamn while. Now, it's absolute shit. It's absolute fucking shit. Folks, I'll be right back. Alright, folks, after that short break, just had to take a little quick break. Yes, BSG 103079, they should make sure that they focus on tag team wrestling, because that's going to be one of their strengths. It's not that their main event scene or their women's division or anything won't be their strength. The women's division, I think, can be a really stellar part of AEW. It's going to be a melting pot where it is going to be for everybody. Like, again, the people that have a problem with transgender women or transgender men or gay people or lesbians being part of the company, fuck you, fuck the people that gave birth to you. That's what I'm going to say. Did I mention that before? You dumb fucks. You have a problem with it, don't fucking watch the company. Go, tweet while you're wearing your white hood, you fucking bigots. Anyway, moving on. Catwoman 13. Really would love to meet you someday and sit down and talk to you about wrestling, honestly. Becky versus Seth. Who wins? Depends on who's more dominant in the bedroom. I'm betting it's Becky. She would probably be the dominant one and everything, and would submit Seth for the, and make him tap out. Have fun on seeing that. In all seriousness, if we go with a legit match, Seth is going to win. Becky will if Becky can focus on his arm or anything, sure, she could win. If we're calling a legit match that they script, Seth will probably win. But if we just go with my idea and it's in the bedroom, then Becky will probably tap him out. I mean, come on, who wouldn't let Becky win in the bedroom? See, you had to wait to figure out how I was going to say this, and I hope I didn't disappoint you. I probably disappointed you and every single person watching this show. I would say I'm sorry, but that's a lie, because I run a very dirty-minded show. But in all seriousness, if we actually went with a match, and I know you said for the IC title who would win, fuck, give it to Becky. Have Becky become the second woman ever to win the IC title. Why not? China last won it in 1999. 20 years later? Why the fuck not? Hell, Becky could even mention China. That would probably get, I don't know how much backlash I would get her, but that would be pretty interesting. And then reviewer John809, always enjoy talking to him. Do not ever feel bad if you chime in late on a gaming stream, my man. You have a bunch of stuff that you're doing with your excellent work on YouTube, so don't worry about it. Appreciate you chiming in. This question is about NXT TakeOver 25, which I will be reviewing by myself because Derb is going to be on vacation. Do you think Shayna will retain the title against Io Shirai? And if so, who do you want to see her face next? I personally see Candice beating her for the title, if not Io. I hope Io wins. I picked Io to win. Because nothing against Shayna, but if you beat everybody down, who the fuck's going to be left? Yes, Candice could beat Shayna. At this point, are you really going to buy Candice, who is a legit great wrestler? Not just women's wrestler, but a great wrestler. Are you really going to buy her beating Shayna? Because they haven't booked her all that well. She's been in like middling feuds and everything pretty much since they had her debut. I mean, she's been in a few decent ones. There's nothing against anybody she's faced. But they haven't really gotten the machine behind her. Have Io win. Io's got some challenges and stuff like that. Maybe you have Io and a couple people team up against Shayna and Duke and Shafir at Brooklyn. Or not Brooklyn, but I think it's Toronto. I think it is in Toronto. SummerSlam's in Toronto this year. Have that happen. And then you can move Shayna up to the main roster. Because otherwise, if you have Shayna beat Io, then that pretty much kills off Io right there. And yeah, you got Candice. And then Candice will beat Shayna. And then you really don't have anybody else left. I mean, you could have Bianca, you could have a couple others. But it's like, Vanessa Borne and Aaliyah. But they're mainly a tag team. And I'm not knocking them, but they're mainly a tag team. So I would have Io win. Because otherwise, at that point, it just gets ridiculous. long title reigns aren't bad, but Shayna's title reign has been kind of eh. And that's not her fault, because she doesn't need Duke and Shafir. She really doesn't. And they're dragging her down a lot. The legendary JF has a few questions. How would you book the 24/7 title? Not booking it is not a choice. I'm going to go to Ferens53 on this, and actually the Durbinator. Make it social media active. Put videos on Twitter. Have live videos on Twitter. Put videos, have a streaming thing on YouTube. Do stuff where you're going to make it matter and you're going to get social media activity and stuff like that. Go really full comedy bullshit on this. Because it isn't really all that great on TV. To me, it does not play well on TV. That's my opinion. Have it be on social media. Have it be on Twitter. Have it be on YouTube. Put on the network as a live special at some point. On pay-per-views, I totally get if you want to do that kind of stuff. The title did just get introduced. But I would put it on Twitter and on YouTube and drive some activity. You know, go with that kind of idea. Because otherwise, I don't think it's playing out all that well on TV. That's how I would book it. Personally, if it were up to me, I wouldn't book it at all. But to not taking that option in, do that. Go with social media. If you could put one tag team back in NXT, the Ascension. Put the Ascension back in NXT. Could they be doing any worse than they are on the main roster? And call one up. Who would they be? So, bring up the Undisputed Era. I don't think there's anything more they really can do. If Cole doesn't win at TakeOver Brooklyn or TakeOver 25, and I think he will, soon they're going to have to call up the Undisputed Era, because it's going to be where they really don't have much more to do. Yeah, they could all win gold or whatever, or Strong could win, and, you know, O'Reilly and Fish could win the tag titles and stuff like that, and everything could work out, and Cole could win the championship. They could be dripped in gold, and you could maybe have Roderick Strong beat Velveteen Dream and be the North American champion. But by that point, then you have to have them lose soon after, because I think shortly after the War Games, if they're around that long, if they're not called up right after the takeover before SummerSlam, right after War Games, they're going to have to be called up. I just think that it's going to get kind of ridiculous, and even though they've only been together just under 2 years, I mean, Strong's only been with them for about a year and a couple months, I would just call up the Undisputed Era at some point. Maybe by November, maybe after the Rumble, and have them go on a dominant streak and have them capture gold at WrestleMania. But I would put the Ascension back in NXT. And when does Brock cash in? Brock is going to face Rollins at he's going to cash in at not Money in the Bank, in Saudi Arabia. And I think he's going to come out and he's going to face Kofi. And they're going to just have him do a double cash in. And it's going to be Brocky 2 belts and the world will burn. Hopefully not in Saudi Arabia, because that would be kind of bad. But Brock is going to end up somehow leaving Saudi Arabia with 2 belts, which I fear. And then Great Love 91, a great person to talk to. Who just recently started talking to her. If you could pick one band or artist to do a wrestling theme song, who would it be, and for what wrestler would it be? Within Temptation, The Reckoning. I don't know if it would fit with Aleister. It would have to fit with somebody dark. Maybe Aleister, stuff like that. And maybe just have Within Temptation do a theme. And listen to the band if you want to know, but I would have Within Temptation do a theme for Aleister. I love Aleister Black's theme. I think it's great. But I think they could have a fucking amazing theme for him. I think he could do some really good goddamn shit as you know, Within Temptation being his theme. So there we go. That's what, I don't know if that was as in-depth as you would like, but it's like, really, I couldn't think of much besides just a band like Within Temptation. Or, I mean, and I know this isn't WWE, but going back to a friend of mine, Bobby, have Disturbed do a song for Moxley in AEW. You're telling me Tony Khan can't afford the rights? That's what I would do. So those would be 2. Within Temptation for Aleister Black, or Disturbed for Jon Moxley. Send in more questions, by the way, if you want. I really appreciated talking to you earlier today, by the way. Black Man Robin, what do you expect from Jon Moxley in AEW? He will become their champion by January or just before WrestleMania. I also expect him to be U.S. champion by this time next week. Because I think he's going to beat Juice Robinson on the Best of Super Juniors finals. But that's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to have some great matches. There's a lot of open opportunities for him to do some really great stuff. He will be AEW champion either before the year's out or by the time they get to like March or April. That's what I think is going to happen. And then we get at a Freaky Dude with a few questions here at the end. And these are going to be a little short, by the way, because I don't have a ton. A, I don't have a ton of time, and B, I don't have much detail on these. But all jokes aside from her husband's last name, what is your overall opinion on Lea Michele as an actress and singer? I think she sings fine. I loved her in Scream Queens. I don't think she's bad. I don't, like I said, I loved her in Scream Queens. I haven't really seen a bunch of other stuff that she's done. I think she was in Glee, and I saw a little bit of that, and I wasn't really that impressed with it. But, you know, I liked her in Scream Queens. That's really about it. I haven't seen enough of her work, really, to form a bad opinion on her. And what new face can we expect to see at TakeOver 25? Well, they had Shane Strickland debut on the NXT tapings recently. They could have him in the crowd if they really wanted to. I can't think of too many names that they would have, because Kushida's already gone there. ACH maybe, but he's been on a couple When Worlds Collide thing, or network specials. Can't really think of who else would be there. Let me know in the comments who you think it would be, because besides Shane Strickland, ACH, or not Kushida, because she's already been introduced, I can't think of anybody. This has been one of the least hyped takeovers in a while. Who knows? Who knows who the fuck it's going to be? But I can't think of anybody that they've signed that they haven't already featured that they're going to put there. I don't know. Just my opinion. And then do you see, do you hold much stock when a wrestler becomes a Triple Crown or Grand Slam champion in one promotion? Not really. Even though I love New Japan, I don't really put much stock in that. I don't put much stock in WWE because it doesn't mean anything as much. With some of them, it means something, and then other ones, it's like, okay, it's like they're just doing it for the sake of giving them accolades. That's really what it is. I don't really consider the Grand Slam champion thing to be all that much. Tag, world, US, whatever. I don't really consider it all that much because they got too many goddamn titles. Where are they going to make it like, a 5-crown champion? And you got to win the 24/7 title? Who the fuck knows? But anyway, so that's what I got to say, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed the answers to the questions, and thank you so much for sending them in. Again, you can send in more questions for Friday's show. Leave comments below this video or find the tweet that I put up Thursday nights on Twitter. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.